Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today's episode is an extremely difficult topic. It is regarding mental health. It is regards to the consequences of going unchecked. It is the reality of how many of us feel and the situation that many of us face. I offer in the interview, if you need help, to please reach out to me and to reach out to my guest. I do have mental health professionals waiting if you need anything. So please take a listen. Let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again this afternoon. Today, we are doing something a little bit more difficult, and it's a little bit unique. My guest today is my first in-studio guest. Specifically for this topic, I think that it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to, and that she's here with me. Today, I am joined by Nicole Philips. Some of you may know her as an influencer on Instagram. Her handle is Cole's Wifey. You can find her at COLESWIFEY. And you might see her showing up on social media as someone that has it all together all the time. She has a beautiful home. She has a beautiful little girl. She has an adoring husband. But that is only what you see on the surface. And she is so much more. I invited her to be on the show because just a few weeks ago, she had come onto social media to let us know what was going on in her life. And it is very different than what we all see out there in the little boxes, as Nicole likes to say. We're going to get into her story today. I want to let you know that this is going to be a difficult one, and it may trigger some people, but I will have resources for you at the end of this show. So if you need help, we will make sure you get some. So it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you Nicole Philips. Nicole, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that generous intro. Social media is so much more than those tiny little boxes. And, unfortunately, behind the scenes, things might be unraveling. There are accounts that show the real part, the fake part, but it is not organic. It is, oh, here is a side shot of my home, but then here is the side shot of what is going on with the chaos. Nobody ever really talks about intimate and upsetting, triggering events in their life. There may be a few accounts out there, but the larger, bigger than life accounts, you look at those squares and you think, wow, why can't I be like that person? Wow, look at this amazing house that is all set up that was in a magazine and blah, blah, blah. But little do they know, several months before that, we had struggled with IVF. And the day that they came to shoot my home, my husband was out of town and I found out, I was pregnant. Happiest day of my life. But at the same point, I was scared out of my mind. There's so much more than what you think and what you know. So I'm here to speak my truth, as I have in several of my boxes. But I wanted to reach it on a more organic and personal level.
My dear community, this one's going to be hard, very, very hard. And I've done, as you know, I've not shied away for doing some hard, difficult subjects. But this one is just a little too tender. And we're going to talk about Nicole's journey over the last couple of years. I think that maybe we should start with some background. Uh, those of you that have been in my audience for a while will notice that this show is being published on a day that we don't usually publish. We're going to publish this on April 1st, which happens to be a Friday. This is a unique day. I'm not going to tell you that it's a happy day. It's a unique day for Nicole, and it's a day that she's trying to take back and make it hers again rather than filled with pain and sorrow. This is the day that when she was 17, they found her mother who had committed suicide, which is why we're doing it this day. So Nicole can have a little bit of her back that she can own rather than having this day marked with that event that changed her life forever. So, Nicole, give us a little bit of detail on that background so then we have a larger perspective of your journey over the last couple of years.
I will say that she has been gone longer than I have been with her. I'm 38. I've shied away and kept this subject in a little box because, it's a rough one. I got a phone call and they asked if I knew where my mom was. And I said, isn't she at the office? And proceeded to tell me, no, she didn't call in. And it's like her to call in. At that time, 2002, it fell on Easter. And she actually planned it all out. That Friday evening is where we can pinpoint that she took her life. She sent out actual invitations. And we should have read through the lines. Celebrate the life and the peace that passes through Patricia Harris. And I will never forget that. But we took it as, she's dramatic. She's a Jesus follower. It is what it is. I did go over there on that Sunday, and by the grace of God, my key didn't work and my garage door didn't work, the opener, for some reason. And that Monday, I met the police. They had an ambulance come because they could smell the smell and put it in front of the garage, so I was not able to see. Magically, the key worked. Magically, the garage door opener worked. And I was able to see glimpses, but not a lot. But when I was on that pavement, bawling after they told us that my mother was no longer living, I could see feet. I could see the swollenness. I could see a tiny bit of that purple body. And those images are something that haunts me. Leading up to the events that had happened, she was addicted to pain pills and alcohol. She had a tumor that was on her brain that had gotten taken out. It was benign. And that's where the pain pill addiction started. About 20 plus years ago, mental health wasn't a huge issue as it is today. Social media has really turned a corner with bringing light to this subject, but also it brings in not only the negative, but the people who have survived through it. And in my situation, I'm a fight or flight type of girl, and I fight always. It was such a dark day in my life, and I dread it every year. But as my husband tries to initiate a positive day, he always plans something on that day. We'll take it off, we'll do fun things. This year, I have branded myself as Nicole 2.0, Cole's Wifey 2.0, whichever one you would like to call me as. That day has taken so much away from me that I wanted to take back my voice, take back my power, and no longer struggle with that day, because it has truly eaten me alive and changed my entire perception of life.
Like I said, this one is a little bit harder. And we are going to, by publishing this on April 1st, we're helping Nicole take back some control over that day and helping her to redefine herself. But if you look at studies and statistics, you will read article after article that children that have parents that die by their own hand, it literally changes their DNA because it is a trauma. So it is something that stays with you, it shapes your personality, it changes the way you respond to everything in your life. And Nicole is being very transparent and being very vulnerable to express to you exactly how it's changed her and how it's affected her and how it's carried with her through her life. And we're going to leap forward to about 15 months ago.
The end of 2020. And, Corona had started, the lockdown had started, and, to be transparent, sure, it affected a lot of things, but it didn't affect our family that much. My husband is a doomsday preparer. He bought a upright freezer and stocked it with meat. He would buy toilet paper for friends, and just make sure everyone in our circle, even outside of our circle, had what wasn't available. Our daughter was at the right age, that it didn't really affect her. I was on a medication called Lexapro for years. Some of us need that additional serotonin in your brain to chemically have it work. I was on it all during IVF, all during my pregnancy, all after my pregnancy. Everything was fine. Nothing was different. And then I started getting these feelings of fear that my daughter was going to die, that somebody was going to take her away from me because we conceived her through science. God blessed us with that child. Although we needed a little bit of help, He did bless us. But in my mind, I have 5 cameras going on in her bedroom, barely sleeping. Our room is lit up like Disneyland while my husband is allowing this to happen because it is my comfort, and he has a pillow over his face. So, he's able to get some sleep. Something shifted. And as I look back now with the psychiatrist that I am working with now, it was postpartum anxiety. My postpartum was controlled by Lexapro, but I was experiencing something totally different.
So those of you that are on medication may feel a stigma against it, on needing some medical support to help you function from day to day. I think that medication should you need it, is something that you should take, just like you take medication for high blood pressure, for migraines, for whatever the case may be. Some of us need a little extra help because our brains don't produce enough. And for full transparency, because I'm asking Nicole to be very vulnerable, I also will be vulnerable. I also take a medication every day of my life. I am not ashamed of it. I am grateful for it because it keeps me functioning. So I'm going to let Nicole continue, walk you through what happened next. Okay, tell us what has happened and your story over the last 12 to 18 months that has now led you to today.
Everything was great. We had a beautiful daughter that came into this world. I had a business, the house that Handmade built. Was making fabulous gallery walls. I was very into decorating, handmade, interior design. That was my identity. And then you throw a baby into the mix, and I'm trying to also continue with my identity, but at the same point, you have a baby. The baby comes first. I shared a lot of, intimate photos with my following, but behind closed doors, they had no idea what was going on. Let's fast forward to her second birthday. Her first birthday was fantastic. I had made this gorgeous hot air balloon. The theme was, "Oh, the places you'll go." We threw 2 parties, one for our family and one for our friends. Then the second birthday rolled around, and it was, "I'm too TWO fancy." I still had to have a splash of myself, as some of you may know, Cole's wifey, or Nicole. And then at the end of 2019, I wasn't feeling like myself. And then Corona hit. And something wasn't right. Nothing was in person. Everybody was a doomsday prepper, like I had said before. My husband prepared it for the apocalypse, was handing out food, toilet paper, anything, you name it. We had it, to people who didn't have it, friends who didn't have it, friends of friends who didn't have it, But anyways, I just wasn't feeling myself. So I reached out to a psychiatrist. What I have come to find out now is I was experiencing postpartum anxiety, but what she had diagnosed me with was mania, that I had a manic disorder and I was in a manic state. She decided to take me off of my medication and pile on pills. I would take enough for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just for the morning. And that was truly my downfall. I went from, within 4 to 6 weeks, being this happy mother, engaging with my husband. I just wasn't myself. Seeking help, I thought, she's a professional. Okay. February of 2020 was my first day in a psychiatric hospital. I was there for 13 days. I had told my husband I have no feeling towards him, no feeling towards my daughter. I was experiencing suicidal thoughts. My depression was out of control. I mean, my poor daughter, we would have activities planned, we would do things, and I would just sit her on a couch all day and have her watch TV, and she's a little bit over 2. After being discharged, they recommended that I go to a inpatient facility and receive more help. In the state of Arizona, it is very limited on clinics that specialize just in mental health. You need to either be an alcoholic or a drug addict. And I know this because when I had my stay at this said psychiatric hospital, people were coming off of any kind of drug you can think of, alcohol, and they focused very little on mental health. This physician had restructured my medication, and once again, I'm at a downward spiral. So I believe it was the beginning of March, and my husband and I decided equally that I needed help. In the interim of all of this, before everything came crashing down, we decided to sell our home because Kensington was starting to climb the bars of the 2-story house. And given my now what we know is postpartum anxiety, that wasn't going to jive. So we decided to build a home and pop into a rental. Small potatoes, we told it was going to be 8 months, and it ended up being, we're closing at the end of this month. Long, long time. I sought help at a facility in California. He wanted to drive me. I was not going to allow that. I, in no way, shape, or form, was going to have my daughter's schedule rearranged to be in a car for 14 hours, 7 hours one way, 7 hours the other. Just wasn't going to do that. So she's in full-time daycare at this point, and I go to this facility for 30 days. What was supposed to be 30 days turned into 54. I had tried to commit suicide twice while I was there. They put me in a mental facility for 9 days, and I will never forget it. There were rooms that were caution taped off because of bed bugs. There were women screaming, pulling their hair out. There was a man who constantly was hitting his head on the wall and shuffling around to find new walls to hit his head on. I did not belong there, but they wanted me in a safe place. That was not a safe place for me. I did not leave that bedroom. All of the other ones were doubles, and I was so fortunate to get a single. I closed my door. I didn't even turn on the TV, and I just laid there in silence. They offered no books, no classes, nothing. You were just being watched, and that was it. It was like an animal in a cage, just wanting to leave. But I made it through. There was one point where I was going to leave. The doctor had come in and agreed that I was fully capable to leave because I put on that Nicole Sunshine happy act that, everybody knows me as. And deep down, though, that was not what was going on. So the facility that I was at originally took me back, had the same room, same bed, everything. I unpacked. They started me on nasal ketamine, and that was a kind of a roller coaster. Just what they were suggesting me to do, with the EMDR, and also wanted to do a bit of a procedure with brain stimulation, which at that point, I felt I wasn't ready to do. And 50 some odd days later, I came home, and within days, I went to the design center to design our new home. and acted like nothing was wrong, even though I was shattered inside. Came home, world apocalypse, everybody's wearing masks, Corona's kind of lightened up a little bit, not too much. The lockdowns had stopped, but it was preferred that you had stayed home. While all these children are doing classes online, we're very fortunate of the age that Kensington was during all of this. And for all of those people who went through that with their children, I am truly, truly sorry for that. My story might seem trivial to what you all had to face, but I was fighting a different demon. I got home and continued with the same psychiatrist, although the facility that I was at recommended that I start with somebody new. And I wanted to start with somebody who knew what happened, knew what was going on. So again, let's change your meds up. Let's do this. Let's do IV ketamine now. 13 sessions, cash pay of IV ketamine. And you want to talk about a wild ride. You are drugged beyond belief. And it's supposed to help you. Did nothing for me. It gave me 45 minutes of solace and peace and no anxiety, no depression. But when you come out of it, you have to face the real world. And it's supposed to change your brain waves and the chemical makeup in your body. And you're going to feel so much better. And I didn't. So we took drastic measures. And I cannot recall what it is called. I'm sorry, I can't. It's called TMS. And what they do is they put these electrodes on your brain, not on your brain, but on your skull. And they shoot magnetic pulses to your brain. You have multiple sessions. I had an extreme session where for 3 days straight, I went there and I was given this every 30 minutes. I would go at the same time every day for 30 minutes, and it lasted 12 weeks. Right at that 11 and a half week mark, I was done. I was done fighting. Nothing was working. Nothing. My psychiatrist was like, I don't know what to do. The main psychiatrist of the clinic had no idea why this wasn't working. It was tough. So I remember dropping my daughter off at daycare, and we were having a really rough morning. She didn't want to get out of her pajamas. And I will always remember changing her into this teal romper. And she is just fighting me. But really, those pajamas were her comfort. And I took that away. And I put her in her car seat, and she is bawling the entire way. And I'm thinking to myself, I am a terrible mother. I am a terrible mother for what I am putting my family through. I don't even want to play with my daughter. I am so disconnected from my husband. I am putting my entire family through this, all while telling my husband, keep this under wraps. This is personal. But he went through his core group of friends and had to tell them because he was struggling to keep it together. I went home. I asked them to stop. They said, you've got 1:30 left. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. And the gentleman said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I just smiled. I got in my car, fight or flight. It's not like I woke up that morning and was like, this is the day, or that I'm going to plan it the way that my mom did. I just was tired, had no answers, had tried everything. and thought that my daughter and my husband would just be better off without me. My brother-in-law, he flew to California and drove me home the first time. That is how involved our family is. I just was at a point where I couldn't take it anymore and nothing mattered. So I thought that my husband was in his office. Didn't realize he was in the shower, but that is a moot point because eventually he did go into the office because it was not an unlike behavior that I spent the entire day in bed crying. So I had already taken, I don't even know how many pills. I'm not going to tell you the pill names, but I will tell you that I am lucky to be alive. Cole, I believe, by the grace of God, came in and I was already white as a ghost. I couldn't see anything. I was sweating, having massive heart palpitations, and just vomiting. Cole's first reaction was, "Ooh, what's wrong?" And then he realized, looking at me, and he said, "What is going on?" And I just whispered, "Call 911. Call 911 now. I need help." And he knew in that second. I wrote out a note. I was so done. And here my poor husband is. As the ambulance comes, as the police come, they take me back to that very same hospital in the beginning. Not the one in California, but the one in the very beginning. And through that time, from those 2 visits, I had had several visits back in the psychiatric ward in different facilities, all while medications are being changed, all while these doctors thought they could fix me and know what was wrong. And truly, they were toxic and just messing with my chemical makeup. I was looking for the magic pill, and there is no magic pill. There are pills out there to make you feel better, but truly, it is the way you think, what is inside you, and how you are. That is what makes a person. It's not about squares on Instagram and getting likes and comments and going viral for a kitchen gallery wall. To me back then, that was genuinely monumental. Being in a magazine, oh my gosh, my mother-in-law was so proud. And I didn't have a mother, and for her to be that proud and to order 15, 16 of them and pass them out to her, family and friends, it was amazing. I didn't care about any of that. That didn't define me. That was masking me. That was masking truly from the beginning. What really was down deep inside was demons that I hadn't dealt with. I hadn't dealt with my mom's death, even though it was so long ago. The way that it was transcribed, the way that it was happened, the way that she took the time and effort was just disgusting looking back. But I can sit here today and say, truly, I understand. I understand the pain that she felt, although it may have been a little bit for different reasons. But I understand. That woman was so lost, and I had felt so lost. She hadn't sought help. I did. Nothing was working. I felt like I was a lost cause. So here we are again. I'm in the psych ward. And my only option again is residential. I went back to California and they had me on watch. There were multiple times we were in a canyon off of a lake that I thought about just jumping over, but I wasn't ready. Something inside me was still there. Something was there. I had attempted 3 times, and this last time was the most serious. Had Cole not found me, it would have been a lot more serious than it truly was. I am lucky that I was not on a ventilator, that I can walk, that I can function today. That stay was rough, but I was running. I was running away because I didn't want to deal with the repercussions. And here my husband is, having a 2-year-old, having a full-time job, having to be mom and dad. But I was so selfish and didn't care. I wanted to fix me, yes, for them. But I didn't realize what was going on behind closed doors because my husband hid it. He wanted to make sure his partner was okay. He says now he sees glimpses of her. And you know what? I do too. I have a new psychiatrist. I have a team of therapists, and I cannot tell you how much therapy has changed my life to get it out there, to be truthful. I had so many messages of when I went black and dark on my page and posted nothing about our new home, nothing. I lied. Oh, the trolls. Oh, I'm not ready to go back on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows that I could give 2 craps about trolls. You're going to come at me. I'm going to be as graceful as I can because ultimately they're hurting and they're looking for somebody to dig their nails into and respond. I was at a point where my therapist said, you need to get back into what you love. You need to truly get back into what you love. And what I love is my daughter, my husband, designing. That's my jam. I'm very creative and, I built a brand off of that. When I was pushing my daughter out, I had thought of 3 different phrases and trademarked them by the second that we left that hospital. Waited the 6 months, got the go, and rolled out with a line. Didn't really work. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm rolling out that line with a new company, and it feels fantastic. I want to be able to use my proceeds and to generate revenue for the women that are in need, to donate to the suicide hotline, to donate to these organizations for these teens who are suffering, who come home after a bully has bullied them to the point of no return, and they just feel that they just want it to be gone. I hear you. I see you. I have lived your story. I am still living your story. No matter if you're rich, no matter if you're poor, I have been both. And let me tell you, the amount of things, the amount of likes, the amount of shares, it doesn't matter. What matters is truly who you are as a person and what you can come out from. I am rising like a phoenix from the ashes, and I am proud of those boxes at this moment. I am proud that I came forward because I am proud to speak up and stop living in the shadows. I am proud for those who have come forward and told me their journey. That is what I am here for. I am here to raise a magnificent daughter and to love my husband the way that he should. But I am here to speak my truth and to tell you, live, get help, live your life. Dying is not the answer. You don't need to suffer any longer. Reach out to me, reach out to any organization. We are here. We are here. We hear you. We are here for you.
We're going to take a pause for a moment because, quite frankly, I need to gather myself together because that was very, very emotional and very powerful. And I need a moment. So I will be back on in just a second. Like I said, that this is really emotional. And because we both happen to be in person, it's even more so. It's more intense. And I needed a moment because I needed to get my thoughts together because we wanted to use this story to help, to make sure that we could get help out to other people. We don't talk about mental health enough. I know that I've had a couple of different experts on my show about mental health and the importance about mental health, and everybody talks about it and everybody says it's important, but you haven't heard this story.
There's a big stigma.
There is a big stigma.
And people don't want to come forward.
No.
They want to be perceived as they have everything together. Really, the ones that are happy-go-lucky and I have the world by my oyster and this is my little bubble, those are the ones who are suffering the most.
Yeah, they're masking their pain
Absolutely.
with happiness.
They're masking their pain with home decor, building a home, building a brand, building this facade, continuing to go with that because they're trying anything to get their life in order. These eventually will be rolled out. I am working with a local gal, and we are generating a line of mugs and pop sockets with my branded trademark Mama Crew, and several of them have rainbows on them. Rainbows are a sign of IVF as rainbow babies. They are also a sign of the LGBT community. They are a sign of hope, of freedom. They are just a sign of beauty after the rain. And let me tell you, I have gone through that rain, and I am not fixed, but I am not broken anymore.
I think that is an important thing to hear because I know that there are lots of you that have been in the same position of hiding what you feel because you think you have to portray something else to the world. And I'm telling that you don't. The world needs you just as you are. Whether you're happy or sad, the world needs you just as you are. So what I would ask of all of you is to check on your friends, check on your family, check on your coworkers. A lot of us have been separate from our coworkers for a really long time. You know, drop that professional facade that keeps coworkers separate. Ask them how they are and really mean it. How are you? And don't let them say, "Oh, just fine," because that's just a way to get you to stop the line of question. Push. Make sure they're okay. I want to give you a couple of resources. So if you need help, there are a couple that I can provide to you. The National Suicide Hotline, their number is 800-273-8255. There is the National Institute of Mental Health. That number is 800-273-TALK. There's another organization, afsp.org. That's Apple, Frank, Susan, Paul.org. They also are there for mental health. Please go to Nicole's page when she launches these mugs, that the proceeds of the sale will go to help mental health. And remember, her handle is Cole's Wifey. I gave that in the beginning. Make sure you check out her page. Nicole has offered that if you need help, reach out to her. Go to her page, send her a message. She'll be looking for these messages. She wants to help. I'm going to offer the same thing. If you need help, go to my page, Women in the Arena Podcast, and message me. I will find a way to get you some help. As you heard from her story, even though we've come a long way with mental health, we still have a long way to go. Being in a facility that makes you feel less than human because you're suffering from a mental illness or a mental event is not the best we can do. There is so much more we can do. The first thing we can do is start making it normal. Start talking about it. Be open about it. Everybody has emotions. Everybody has demons that live within them. And everybody is going through something, somewhere. I've got a secret for all of you. None of us have got it all going on.
No,
None of us.
we really don't.
No, not a one of us have this all together. I don't. Nicole doesn't. None of my friends do. Nobody.
But nobody talks about it.
No, because they're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of appearing less than. And I'm here to tell you that the most beautiful things have happened to myself personally when I allow my vulnerabilities to be public. And I can tell you this, that I didn't know Nicole before I reached out to her and said, will you please be willing to tell your story? And she said yes. And I can tell you that she's a beautiful human being. And that through this experience, if the result is that part of her purpose is to help people just like her, that is beauty out of the vulnerability of being imperfect. So I want to give Nicole one more moment to speak directly to all of you before we let you go for the afternoon.
I would just like to say that you are not alone. This life is meant to be worth living. Yes, gas prices are high, but some of us have the luxury of working from home now. Yes, this world is in chaos, but as of right now, you need to take care of your home front. You need to take care of you. You need to put that oxygen mask on first before you put it on others. And that was so hard for me to hear because I would have put that oxygen mask on my daughter first. But if your cup is empty, your entire household's cup is going to feel that. If you have nothing to give and you have a spouse who is giving it all, eventually that cup is going to crumble. Please, please, I beg of you, do not get to that point if you don't feel comfortable talking to a psychiatrist or being on medication. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for how you are feeling. I advocated for myself to tell my truth because I truly want to let you know it's okay. It is okay to not be okay.
I want to again say thank you to Nicole for being here, for being very brave, vulnerable, and transparent for the purposes of at least having the ability to help one other person. So one other person doesn't have to go through what she has of that feeling of being unseen, because you are seen. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I know that this wasn't easy. I know this was a really hard episode, but one that I thought was important to do. And I want to thank you again for being so supportive. One more time, if you need help, please reach out to either one of us or reach out to any of the resources that we gave today. Thank you again for all of your time, and we'll see you next time.
This is just the beginning.
That's our show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you and your unwavering support and your continued belief in this movement that has become much bigger than me, much bigger than just a podcast. It has become this forward momentum that we are all doing together. If you are ready, or you know somebody that is ready to tell your story and share your value with the world, please connect with me. You can reach me at audra@womeninthearena.net. I am so honored and thankful that you will share your story with me, and I'll make sure that it is well taken care of. I will never stop thanking each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next week as we share another woman's story and we celebrate her doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We'll see you next time.
This is